The ESEE AGK, let's check it out. Guys, I've been a big fan of ESEE knives for years. They're some of my go-to knives. In fact, I keep the ESEE 4 in my go bag at all times. I mean, they're just rugged. They're made out of 1095 steel, but they have been heat treated to perfection. They're just great utility knives, and there's so many different designs. Last weekend, I was at Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and I always go by the ESEE display. It's a huge wall case with all kind of ESEEs. And this little AGK caught my eye. I mean, it's a beautiful design, but more toward game processing and for hunting. But it can be used as a standard field knife. And one of the things about it, it's just got this longer grip to it with a shorter blade, and so it gives you a lot of leverage. And so we're going to take a look at the ESEE AGK. Again, more for hunting, but also could be used as a utility knife. I'm a big fan of ESEE, and I have been for years. I like the 1095 steel. I like the way that they've heat treated it. It's just properly done, and it keeps a really good edge. They're really strong knives, and of course, full tang is very important. But one of the things about ESEE is that they just cut. Now, this is my ESEE 4, and I've had this for a number of years as well. And I have a number of ESEEs. I'm just a big fan. They are made in the USA. They're properly put together, and they're very utilitarian. And this makes a great knife to go on a hunt as well. But one of the things about the AGK is that it is designed specifically for field dressing. But again, it can take care of other field tasks if you need to. Now, it is a 3.5 inch blade, but overall it's 8 1/4 inches. So that means that the grip is longer than the blade. And one of the things about having that longer grip is you can get a lot of leverage on the grip. It is micarta scales, which is preferred by Ashley Emerson. He really likes that because you can get a good solid purchase on it. You're not going to slip, and and it does discolor over time. And it's one of the things, guys, about knives like these. If you're just buying knives to collect them, that's one thing. But if you really want something that you can use in real-world situations, the ESEE makes a great knife. Now, this has a nice guard that comes down, so it's going to keep your hand from slipping, especially when you're cutting into joints, you're pulling off hide, you're again just field dressing, whatever you're hunting. One of the things about this knife is that the tip actually aligns with the pommel, and so it's a really straight shot. Another thing, this knife is a drop point, but it's fairly thin. And what this knife is designed to do is to get up under the hide with the blade up. Get up under it and then push through the skin. One of the things that can dull your knife really quickly is hair. If you're cutting into an animal and you're cutting hair, it dulls the knife. It makes it less effective when you're using it. Now, they also offer this in a blaze orange, but those are G10 scales, which makes it really easy to find. They're also making this in S35 VN steel, which is going to be more of a premium steel. But honestly, for field use, I find that the 1095 is just excellent. The Rockwell hardness is between 55 and 57, so it's not going to be too brittle, and yet it's going to have that great edge retention. Now, one of the things that I really like too is the sheath, and it's an all-leather sheath, very well done. Right here marked on it, made in the USA, and that is a big plus for ESEE. And the knife just fits down low carry. So you can put a lanyard, which it does have a nice lanyard hole, that has been beveled, and so it's not going to wear on your paracord. And so you can have that if you want to pull that out, but it comes out okay if you pull it, but it keeps a really good retention. It's not going to fall out. And especially if you're in the woods and you're out, that's one of the things you don't want to do, is to lose your knife. Now, this guard really protects your hand. I mean, it gets it up there. One thing you'll notice is that the blade comes all the way down the edge until right to the end. And so a lot of times they'll have small little cutouts here, and that will catch when you're cleaning. So this is designed, again, totally around hunting and processing meat. Really strong rivets on either side, and just again, full tang, very well finished, and it has that kind of a stone wash finish to it. You know, one of the things a lot of people do is they'll buy really nice knives, so when they need a knife, they end up getting the cheaper knives because they don't want to mess up. They're really expensive knives. And that's one of the reasons why I like ESEE, because it's in that medium price range. They're not inexpensive, but they're not extremely expensive. That'll match a lot of these custom knives and really can do pretty much what they do. The weight on the AGK, 5 ounces. With the sheath, 7.2 ounces. All right, we're gonna do a standard paper test. Yeah, this is really sharp right out of the box, which most ESEEs are. Good stuff. As far as cutting, I mean, it'll cut, it'll feather. So if you really need it for any kind of prepping, for fire prep, and really because that blade is so sharp, it does very well. Up here near the guard, it really gives you a lot of leverage. That handle, just that extended length, gives you really control over the blade. Yeah, it's got some good bite to the wood. I really like Scandi grind for this kind of stuff, but I think this is going to work out well. Really, personally, I don't like really specialized knives. I like knives that'll do a number of tasks. So I think this one is actually going to fit the bill. We're going to do a little drawing, and not with a pencil. Yeah, you're going to be able to process some decent fire tinder with this. Again, I prefer the Scandi grind, but I think this blade is thin enough to where you're able to really get some cutting ability in the wood. This is not going to be a chopper. Guys, this is one way, especially if you're out in the woods, it's a better way to not get cut. You're not bringing the knife to you, the blade's pointed in the other direction. It's one of the things I've found that I'm really liking a lot, especially in a survival situation. You know, you might be tired, fatigued. This is going to cut down on any kind of accidents, and it really produces a lot of wood. Now, having a little bit more length of the blade gives you ability to baton and the thickness of this blade. Yeah, that thicker spine is going to really make a difference. And again, it is a dedicated hunting knife, but this can be used for survival. Now we produced a good bit of tinder. It was very easy to do with this knife. We have one of the tinder tabs, which the U.S. military uses. I like these. I really like Vaseline and cotton balls, especially because it's so easy to make. But one of the things I noticed with my fire steel is that I'm not getting a lot of spark off my ferrocerium rod. It gives a little bit of spark here and there, but it's not really producing the spark. So that is a big downside as far as this being a dedicated survival knife. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this striker here just to show you that we are getting quite a bit of spark from this striker. So it may be one of those things where you put this along with the sheath, but that's not really optimal in my opinion. So this is going to remain definitely a hunting knife that I'm going to take hunting, but I'm not going to necessarily depend on it for fire starting. There goes the tinder tab. Now there are some pros and cons to this knife. Obviously we've seen that it will not really strike a ferro rod. Tried a couple of different kinds and really it should have. The striker seemed to do well. But again, this is not designed as a survival knife. It is designed as a hunting knife. And I really feel that it'll do that excellently. I mean, we did produce quite a bit of fire tinder, which translated into gaming. Of course, we didn't have a deer we have just shot to be able to really show you this. But I think that, you know, ESEE makes incredible products, and I think this is going to be a great addition to your hunting trip. And, you know, again, just pack that striker separately. I love the long grip. It gives you a lot of leverage to the knife. I'm able to really have control over it. I can get detail. I can even get larger, you know, which is batoning, doing things like that. Didn't have really any hot spots. I love the micarta scales. Has a really solid grip to it. I like that guard. It comes out. I like the shape of the blade. I like the way that it comes out. It gives you enough belly to where you can actually get some cutting done, but it's thin enough from here up to really be able to slice and again produce that tinder, but yet it's thick enough to where you can baton. So overall, I really like the knife, but if I'm going to carry it, I will carry a fire steel with a striker. And I'm a big fan of the sheath, and I like how deep the knife goes down into the sheath. It retains it. It's not coming out, but yet put a paracord lanyard on there and you can pull it out really easily. And to be honest with you, getting a hold with a 2-finger grip, you can pull this out. So that's definitely a plus. Now the retail price on the ESEE website is $166.06, and that's pretty pricey. But I bought this at Smoky Mountain Knife Works for $99.85. So it's around that $100 range. And guys, when you are choosing a knife that you're really going to depend on, don't go cheap. Go with something that is at least really decent quality. Otherwise, if a knife fails you, you're in trouble. Knife is one of those basic tools that we need. And so again, I've had a lot of experience with ESEE, and to me, this knife is well worth $100. And that includes this really nice sheath. And again, they are made in the USA, and as all ESEEs, they do carry a lifetime warranty. So guys, if you're a hunter and you're really looking for an exceptional knife to process game, especially when you're field dressing, doing things like that, this is an excellent knife for that. But also can be used for a lot of other utility tasks, including food prep and, you know, even fire tinder and just tasks around the camp. But a great little design, very purposeful. And guys, I'll tell you, ESEE just makes some great knives. And so check out the ESEE AGK. And I'm really glad that Smoky Mountain Knife Works had this in their case, and I want to thank my patrons over at Patreon for making these purchases possible, because otherwise, you know, it would be very difficult to bring these kind of reviews. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. I was in Smoky Mountain Knife Works a couple of weeks ago, and I found the little AG. Bleh. You're processing fire tinder. You know, you're just doing a. Okay.